A former standout athlete from Spokane made his name in sports history in 2006 after blocking a punt that kickstarted the rebirth of the New Orleans Saints following Hurricane Katrina. In 2011, Steve Gleason opened up about his battle with ALS, a rare neurological disease that primarily affects nerve cells that control movement. Many people came to learn Steve's story through a 2016 documentary called Gleason. It documents his battle with ALS. KREM 2 traveled to Sundance for the premiere of the film.
Trapped, a body with muscles that just don't work. ALS robbed Steve Gleason of this.
People have embraced me out in New Orleans just because I'm that kind of a guy where people watch the game and they're like, we want to love you, you know.
But it couldn't touch his mind stronger than his body ever was. And his mind had a choice 5 years ago. Fade away like many ALS patients, or live as full a life as he can. Live like most of us never do. Live with a timeline. Choose a life filled with joy, even as life deals impossible heartbreak. Choose to film this new life for his son.
This is intended to be a gift for you, my child, who I have not yet met.
Then, when Steve can't work the camera anymore, ask others to film, to bear witness to the choice for life. Choose to turn the video into a film unlike any other and debut it to the world as only Steve can on a huge stage at the Sundance Film Festival. Raw, brutal, but most of all, inspiring. Tonight, a KREM 2 News special, Project Inspire, Sundance with Steve. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Park City, Utah. I'm Jane McCarthy. KREM 2 is proud to present this Project Inspire special from the prestigious Sundance Film Festival. Sundance is where some of the best independent films in the world are showcased for the first time to audiences. We're here for a very special premiere, the documentary about Spokane's Steve Gleason. It's called Gleason, the Diary of a Saint.
This is intended to be a gift for you.
It documents more than 1,300 hours of footage over the last 4 years of Steve's life as he battles ALS, a terminal disease with no cure. But it's the inspirational way Steve has lived his life since his diagnosis, and that's the reason we're here in Utah.
There you go. Hey, buddy.
10 years ago, Steve Gleason would have been a great subject for an independent film.
Steve Gleason, we love you.
The free spirit and NFL special team standout for the New Orleans Saints lived a unique life on and off the field. An outstanding athlete for Gonzaga Prep in high school, he became a rare two-sport star in football and baseball for WSU. A long shot to make the NFL at first, he ended up playing in the league for 8 years. Steve was even a longer shot to be the only Saint in history to have a statue built of him outside the Superdome. But here it is. He's forever frozen in time for this play, a 2006 punt block in the Saints' first home game since Hurricane Katrina, symbolizing the rebirth of an entire city.
Infinite joy, man. Infinite joy.
Throw in his marriage to his beautiful New Orleans bride, Michelle, and what movie producer doesn't like that story? Then the script flipped. Steve went from this to this. And now this in 5 years. An absolute evil called ALS has destroyed his body. ALS is a terminal disease with no cure. It slowly forces every muscle in his body to stop working, including his lungs. Most ALS patients slowly fade away, voiceless to express the torment of a healthy mind held prisoner in a shell of a body. This was Steve's decision point in this script. The time when the hero has to make a choice, fade out or go all in. A defiant raised fist to the roof of the Superdome months after his diagnosis signaled to the world his intention. Steve Gleason would not fade away. A new mission followed for the third act of the script, No White Flags, a rallying cry for his new life and Team Gleason, a nonprofit he started to raise ALS awareness and help fellow ALS patients.
We wanted a baby.
Steve and Michelle then took the script to a level with a worldwide audience. They allowed a documentary film crew to tape everything in their lives for more than 3 years. Steve's deterioration and the emotional toll associated with it captured on film so the world can witness both the evil of ALS and the triumph of Steve's spirit.
It is important to me that we help people here locally.
You watch as Steve loses his voice, but tweets and types with his eyes to communicate his love of life and his humor.
I was mostly nervous that I might poop my pants.
More than 3 years of his life shrunk into 1 hour and 45 minutes. A script about an independent spirit perfect for an independent film. A script to inspire others in a way only Steve Gleason can. Now that you know what brought us here, we want to show you around. Come along as we take a look at one of the most famous film festivals in the world. Park City, Utah, a quaint little town high in the Rocky Mountains.
It's just really, really magical.
Park City is one of the top ski destinations, drawing people from across the globe. Where are you from?
Peru. I'm from Belgium.
I'm from Iowa.
I'm a filmmaker in Spokane.
Los Angeles.
Dallas, Texas.
Salt Lake City, Utah. We live in Pullman.
These people aren't here for the skiing. This week, the slopes play a supporting role to Sundance.
Known skiing because they're all at the movies.
Founder Robert Redford started the festival as an offbeat place for independent filmmakers to have a voice.
The idea was, well, why not bring a festival here because it's weird?
I'm the director.
And just make it weird.
Weird, like, say, a talking fox? Yeah.
I'm so excited, it's incredible.
Or odd, like the man wearing a paper dog costume working to legally change his name?
He's been trying to change his name to Boomer the dog, and he's been unsuccessful.
Success for filmmakers starts when they're accepted to Sundance. And with well over 100 films playing on more than 20 different screens, that's like moviegoer heaven.
Lots of fun.
But for certain Sundancers, the fun factor is measured by just one thing.
I'm here trying to spot celebrities.
Any luck yet?
Yes, I actually got Nick Jonas earlier and Danny DeVito.
And that's Elvis Presley's granddaughter, Riley.
Oh, Anna Kendrick's, Anne Hathaway.
And then Craig Robinson, he's really nice.
I just sat down with the director and the producer of the Gleason documentary. They tell me they started this when they were handed 1,300 hours of private video from Steve and his wife Michelle's life. They say the result is a film filled with heartbreak and hope.
September 29th, 2011.
It's about 8 months after doctors deliver Steve's heartbreaking diagnosis. Steve and wife Michelle will welcome their first child, Rivers, in 3 weeks. But ALS is stripping Steve's voice at an alarming rate.
The Little P. This is a story of Little P, Mama P, and Papa P.
It's heartbreaking to think he'll never be able to read a story to his son, so Steve has the foresight to record them.
Little P was a happy little guy. May 13, 2012, 300 seconds. Rivers, it's Mother's Day, your first Mother's Day.
The Gleasons brought photographer Ty Minton Small to New Orleans to capture the birth of their son. Steve's desire to document an honest look at his life for Rivers grew exponentially.
April 7th, 2012, 300 seconds.
Ty and fellow photographer David Lee eventually packed their cameras and moved in with Steve and Michelle.
So we were basically living with them for about 3 years and consistently filming like super intimate moments.
Including that terrible night Steve thought might be his last.
I was sleeping and I got woken up at 4 a.m. and a friend was like, "Steve needs you right now." And I was like, "Okay." And Steve was like, "I need you to get the camera." And Steve thought he was dying. And it was beyond intense.
I just want to tell you how much I love your mom.
The experience was life-changing, but there were plenty of times the photographers never thought their work would end up in a movie. Until this.
And I saw instantly there how kind of powerful the story was going to be, and wanted to be a part of it.
Their footage landed in front of filmmakers Clay Chweel and Seth Gordon.
There was 1,300 hours of footage to catch up on, and then we added to that some of our own that could, tie together that really amazing, raw, real, powerful stuff that had been captured over that 4.5 year span.
Rivers, last night.
They call the result a powerful way to explore the human condition.
There are 5 scenes in the film that are like nothing I've ever seen captured. It's just extraordinary.
So extraordinary, they have faith the movie will impact audiences similar to the way it impacted its makers.
Really, it was a sense of kind of gratitude and appreciation for what I have, I think, in my own life, and a sense of kind of renewed hope in the human spirit.
Perhaps no one knows the power of the human spirit more than the star of the film. Steve talked sparingly at Sundance, but took the time to talk with us about bearing his soul for this movie. Steve Gleason appears on the red carpet for the world premiere of the mesmerizing documentary of his life unraveled by ALS. While he poses for red carpet pictures, Steve leaves the talking to the rest of the cast and crew.
It's really exciting and humbling too.
I met him 13 years ago.
An incredible festival.
I knew Steve before when he was playing in the league.
Later, through his voice powered by technology, Steve tells me watching the finished film snapped him right back to the poignant moments unfolding across the screen.
For me, the entire film is an emotional experience. The footage is packed with struggle, perseverance, heartbreak, and joy. The viewers, including me, can't help but feel that.
Steve says he's humbled the film was selected to play on the prestigious Sundance screen. It's not something he would have dreamed when he was first diagnosed with ALS and started recording personal video journals for his unborn son.
The project has evolved into something much bigger, but it started innocently enough, as a way to share myself with our son Rivers. I have had so many people who have lost a parent tell me that they really don't have much from the parents they've lost.
Steve's love for Rivers emanates from the theater. What's more, Steve tells me he and Michelle have more than 27 hours of video journals and nearly 250 written journals for Rivers. It's a huge gift for his son, but there's a greater purpose for sharing his journey outside his family.
My hope is, you understand that in the midst of adversity, we will find our greatest opportunities. We all face tragedy and adversity, but most often, that is where we find our power and meaning.
It's clear Steve has found new power and meaning, even as ALS mounts an unfair fight. Perhaps any of us in the middle of darkness can find some peace if we just search for that light. If you're moved by Steve's words, let him know. He checks Twitter almost every day and loves seeing messages of support. You can tweet him at Team Gleason. He may even reply by tweeting you back using his eyes. We have much more to come from Sundance, including a look inside this exclusive friends and family private screening of the film. We got an invite, and after the screening, we got the interviews with the people who helped with the film, including 3 guys you might recognize. Saints quarterback Drew Brees.
Steve's one of the most incredible people I know.
Saints linebacker Scott Fujita.
This whole thing started just as a labor of love for one man and his family.
And Mike McCready, who plays for a little band out of Seattle you might recognize called Pearl Jam.
Steve Gleason rules, that's all I can say.
Stay with us for more Sundance with Steve on this Project Inspire special. I'm at a place called Victory Ranch. It's about 26 miles outside of Park City. And this is where Steve's friends and family have come to watch a special screening of his documentary before the world premiere.
So thanks for coming to celebrate this weekend with us.
Steve's New Orleans Saints teammate Scott Fujita welcomes friends and family to a private screening of the Gleason documentary the evening before the world premiere. Many of the people in this room are here because they've been alongside Steve and Michelle through the steady, uncompromising march of ALS.
You know, there are definitely times in Steve's struggle with ALS where it has been sad, but overall his perseverance has been an inspiration for everyone that knows him.
And most everyone who knows him remembers the moment they learned Steve has ALS. For Saints quarterback Drew Brees, it was just before a crucial game.
I'll remember for the rest of my life the call that I got. I was sitting on a bus in Seattle. We're about to play a playoff game against the Seahawks when I get the call that, you know, he's been diagnosed with ALS, because it was such a huge hit to all of us, because you thought to yourself, of all the people in the world, this is the last person who would deserve something like this.
Yeah, that was a heavy time. My uncle passed from ALS about 20 years ago, so I knew firsthand what it was about.
It was because of the experience with ALS in his own family, Fujita was aware of the signs. So even before Steve was diagnosed, Fujita started fearing for his friend.
I mean, this is in October now of 2010. He was experiencing these kind of muscle spasms and twitches. Didn't know quite what it was yet. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds like ALS. And you come to January 5th, 2011, and he calls and says that was the diagnosis. And to say I was crushed would be an understatement.
Fujita would do anything for Steve, so when he learned he might want to transform his video journals into a documentary, Fujita teamed up with Michelle Gleason's good friend Kimmy, and the two spent 5 years assembling a team to work toward today.
I'm proud of them and the courage it took for them to share it. I'm proud of how the film turned out.
From football to filmmaker.
Oh geez, yeah, fake it till you make it, I guess.
There is nothing fake about this film. The audience at the Friends and Family screening are clearly taken.
I love the film. It really showed Steve's struggle over the last 4 years, but most importantly, it showed that he's superhuman by being human.
Pulled at all of my heartstrings, and I cried about 5 times, but I also felt very hopeful, and it felt important.
Like most of Steve's friends, Pearl Jam guitarist Mike McCready has known Steve since before he was diagnosed. That's when Steve carved out a permanent spot in his heart.
When he comes to a Pearl Jam show, I will play. He'll be right there, and I'll go out and play right to him. So, because I love him.
There's a lot of love for Steve here, perhaps because it's clear he delivers a lot of love himself. And his friends know Steve's positive impact will continue radiating far beyond their inner circle.
I think that's a very high order of a human being, and in Steve's position to be able to help other people with ALS.
How can I really make a true difference in this world for so many people? He's done it.
3, 2, 1.
Steve's likeness is already depicted outside the Superdome in New Orleans for his punt block that helped raise a city out of sadness in 2006. Turns out that statue, called Rebirth, just might be a symbol of Steve's first act.
Again, it's one of those things where I hope one of these days when someone says, hey, you know, what's the history on ALS? And someone could say, this is the person who single-handedly changed the course of this disease.
It seems the man who communicates with his eyes is amid a new rebirth. And just like the first, he's becoming a symbol of resilience in the face of true adversity. I had the privilege of watching a special Friends and Family screening of the film Gleason prior to the world premiere. I can tell you that this film is both heartbreaking and hopeful. Full disclosure, I'm a crier, so there were about 5 times in the film where I was tearing up. But something about this film brings you from the lows to the highs almost in an instant. It is a fantastic film, and I am excited for it to have a Spokane premiere. Up next, who's this guy and why is he everywhere in the film? You'll find out why he's probably the coolest guy we met at Sundance. And a candid interview with Steve's wife, Michelle.
I wanted it to be as real and honest as possible.
You're watching a Project Inspire special, Sundance with Steve. Welcome back. There is another key figure in Steve Gleason's life who plays more than a supporting role. Blair Casey left his job as a physical therapist to focus on helping Steve, and he ended up becoming part of the family. Whenever you see Steve,
Cheese, 1, 2, 3.
There's a good chance Blair Casey is there, ready to jump in on the assist. The longtime friend turned caregiver has helped carry his buddy high into the Andes Mountains to the top of Machu Picchu.
Hi.
He was there this summer to help guide Steve through the Gonzaga Prep High School reunion. Blair was at the ready when Steve needed someone to unleash a bucket of ice.
Very nice to see you.
And today, Blair is on the red carpet in that surreal setting called Sundance.
Thank you guys so much for being here and covering Steve's story. It means a lot to me.
Steve's story is very much Blair's story too.
I kind of forgot a lot of the things that had happened. You kind of acclimate and you think in the now, where we are now.
It was an often painful present to care for Steve and watch the impact of his deterioration on his family and friends. So when Blair saw those experiences condensed into movie form, it's like a long brewing tidal wave broke loose.
When I saw it, my wife came home and I was bawling my eyes out. She's like, Blair, and I'm like, I just forgot. Dave, grab that door.
Blair knows the struggles are far from over for his friends, and he'll continue to try and ease their burdens where he can.
Great to see you.
Taking time to focus on the fortunes and the life lessons Steve has to share.
And it really puts things in perspective for everybody. I hope everybody gets to see, the hardships that they go through, but in reality, how much easier we all have it.
No one knows the hardships more than Steve's wife, Michelle. She's done few interviews over the last year, but graciously said yes when I asked her to share her experience with the film after the friends and family screening.
We're going to talk about how we met.
The moment Steve Gleason met Michelle Varisco, he decided this girl was like none he'd ever met.
She came up and the first thing she said was, "Hey, you're Steve?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, you're a lot cuter than I thought you'd be."
Michelle admits she had some preconceived notions about the pro football player.
There you go.
But just as the two started talking, any assumptions melted away.
And really from that day, Steve and I always really liked him. I liked being around him.
We really liked each other.
The two were married in 2008, about 2.5 years before the couple was delivered the devastating blow. Steve had something called ALS. The day of his diagnosis is at once crystal clear and a blur.
They could have told me anything at that diagnosis. I would have not listened. I didn't think that he was going to get sick. I didn't think that they were right. I didn't listen to anything that they said.
Today.
The doctors essentially said the same disease that took baseball great Lou Gehrig would also take her husband's body without touching his mind.
It's not easy for either of us.
Over the past 5 years, that's precisely what's happened. So when Michelle and Steve recently saw the finished Gleason documentary, they were transported back to the time their lives took that staggering turn.
First time, I think for Steve and I both was the most emotional. We don't really watch the footage that we have, and so it's the first time that I'd seen Steve moving and talking in a long time. So I think, within the first 2 minutes, we were both sobbing and it was crazy.
Michelle tells me it's a little surreal to be at Sundance.
This is a big deal, I think. I don't know how big of a deal it is, but I think it's a big deal.
And quite foreign for this New Orleans girl, particularly because she's not an actress.
For me, it's not acting, this is our life.
So as far as Michelle is concerned, she wouldn't exactly say congratulations are in order here.
I mean, that's the thing, that's the weird thing here is that everyone's doing this big celebration, and Steve and I just go home and have to live this brutal life on Thursday when we get home. So that's the brutal reality. This is fun and we're grateful and this is great, but that's the reality.
It's most certainly not the reality she would have chosen, but it is her reality.
The hardest thing about this whole thing is that I miss Steve. I miss the Steve that I married, and I love the Steve that's here now, but we've had to experience lots of loss.
Well, I won't give up on us.
So, with each loss, all they can really do is try and search for new avenues of joy. Team Gleason offers a chance to do something about the cruel disease that prompted Michelle's stark words. TeamGleason.org gives you a chance to make a difference by donating to help improve the lives of ALS patients and search for a cure. We've worked closely with Team Gleason for 5 years now. I can tell you firsthand they've made a huge impact to people in the Inland Northwest. Team Gleason, through the Gleason Initiative Foundation, helped convert a van to allow this ALS patient a chance to get out of his house for the first time in months. Your donations also helped convert this house for another ALS patient to make it wheelchair accessible and allow him to take a real shower for the first time in a long time. Your donations mean the world to these brave families, and we hope you'll stop by TeamGleason.org to consider how you can help. Before we say goodbye to Sundance, we have to find out what the people in the very first public showing of the movie thought.
It was incredibly powerful, incredibly brave, and I think it's a really important documentary.
The rave reviews are next, including one from Steve's biggest fan, his mom.
I cried the whole time. I mean, I laughed and cried, and I cried and cried. And
I'm here at the theater in Park City where the Gleason documentary is wrapping up its world premiere. The first public audience to see the film is coming out of those doors right now. Here's what some of them had to say. The end of the Gleason world premiere propels the sold-out crowd to its feet.
It was absolutely amazing.
Immediately, the accolades start to flow, just as the tears did.
How bad is my eye makeup screwed up?
it makes you realize life is precious. Yeah, it's moving. Now I have to try to go to work after this.
So you're from Spokane. It was
Yes.
important for you to watch this film.
Well, it really was, and having followed Steve, I mean, it sort of wrung out. I mean, it was an amazing, overwhelming film.
But everyone I talked with agrees the movie doesn't keep you wallowing in heartbreak. There are high times too, and Kook fans appreciate the nod to the crimson and gray.
It was really cool at the beginning of the film, just to see some clips from old Cougar football games, in the Rose Bowl and things like that.
People are calling the Gleason documentary powerful and important, one that prompts its audience to take an important look in the mirror.
You can't walk out of that film and not go, what should I be doing differently with my kids, with my family, with my father?
I think everyone needs to see it. It'll change your life. It really will.
Spokane filmmaker Irv Broughton has been watching movies at Sundance for decades. He knows documentaries, and he says, all hometown bias aside, he believes this one will become known as one of the greats.
Well, I can see this as an Academy Award film. I mean, it is that good.
A lot of the people here to support Steve and his world premiere are from the Spokane area, including his mom, Gail. I had a chance to catch up with her after the world premiere. There is one woman who's been a Steve Gleason fan from the start.
He was really cute, wasn't he?
Cute and crafty, always on the move, despite the fact he had to wear his little shoes on the opposite feet because they turned in.
The first doctor that we went to said when he was 15 he would need surgery and he would never be able to run.
Clearly, that doctor was wrong.
I love this picture of him running.
ALS has since stripped Steve's ability to run and sent his mom sprinting to try and catch him in any way she can.
You just do one day at a time, and you love and you give and you pray a lot and do whatever you can to help.
Steve wants to generate help for others too, so Gail joined him as a fierce ally working to bring awareness, support, and hopefully an eventual cure for all ALS patients.
It's kind of like a snowball since we're here in Park City and it's starting to snow. That little bit that we started out with, it's beginning to grow. And there's all kinds of things happening, and it's exciting to think about.
God only knows what I'd be without you.
Gail hopes her son's light doesn't dim before the medical scales tip in his favor. She believes the harsh honesty behind the Gleason documentary will prompt another giant step in that direction.
It was emotional for us to watch, and your mom.
I cried the whole time. I mean, I laughed and cried, and I cried and cried, and somebody had brought me a bunch of tissue, and it's all just a mess. so yes, I mean, even in the funny stuff and the good stuff, it made me cry because that was, that's why we were doing it, is to see the good stuff too.
She reminds herself to remember there is some good stuff, and she'll continue supporting her son with everything she has to give, just as she's done since he was a baby. But heartbreak over ALS has forced her arms to open even wider now, and she's hoping the documentary will prompt all of us to open our arms a little wider too.
There's ALS patients around you who don't have the kind of love and support that Steve has, and reach out to them and help them.
We hope you've enjoyed this Project Inspire special from the Sundance Film Festival. As soon as we know more about the Spokane premiere of Gleason, we'll be sure to bring you that on KREM 2 News, KREM.com, and Twitter. For now, I'm Jane McCarthy in Park City, Utah. Good night.
Thank you for watching our special highlighting Steve Gleason's story. You can find much more of our coverage on our website, KREM.com.